read what I wrote for tonight and probably discarding 9/10 of it, because it would be much better if we have an exchange of views and a discussion rather than listening to a paper. I would nevertheless like to, well, first of all, would like to be fair to Gordon Brown. Our friend mentioned here that he promised to abolish boom and bust. And we must concede that he managed to keep half of his promise. He abolished boom, but not bust. And as a compensation, we get the second half of it in great abundance. That is what we are talking about today. And I want to mention also something else. I want to show you an issue of Time magazine, a very precious copy I have here. I bought it in 1977. And I kept it all this time. There must be a reason. And the reason is because this front page of Time magazine says that Marx is dead. Now, they have waited a few years before they discovered it, but eventually they did it 94 years later. And they announced it in this way to the world. And if you look at the small print, you'll read, France's new philosophers speak out. So they told us, on the authority of Marx's or France's new philosophers. And when I read that, France's new philosophers, who are certainly not new, and even less philosophers, they have declared it in this way. It reminded me of what happened a long time earlier in the Hall of Fame of Vienna University. There is a Hall of Fame with the bust of great people, and under the bust there is always a caption. And under the bust of Galileo, of course, you have the caption, "Eppur si muove," and yet it moves. And then you walk a few steps and there is Nietzsche's bust. And under that bust is written, "God is dead, Nietzsche." And a few weeks later, that caption was crossed out. And instead it appeared, "Nietzsche is dead, God." Now that is what you can apply to France's new philosophers and Marx. Because, as a matter of fact, today Marx's spectre is haunting the world, the whole world. Not just Europe, the whole world. And there is no way in which any wishful thinking can bury Marx under the circumstances, because so much of what he has written, so much of what he has told us has become a reality. They discovered a few decades, 2 or 3 decades ago, the magic word of globalization. But as a matter of fact, Marx wrote about globalization way back in 1847, and underlined that it is in the irrepressible logic of capital to expand, to embrace the whole globe, but of course with profound contradictions, because it is not a simple process. And what you have now is globalization with a vengeance, because unlike the crisis of 1929-33, the present crisis is really a global crisis of immense magnitude. We can't yet really measure the nature of this crisis. The magnitudes we are talking about are really, literally astronomical. We are talking about trillions of dollars, trillions of pounds. I ask a very dear friend who is the professor of astrophysics at London University, because we are talking about astronomical sums. I asked him, how can we make sense of these trillions? And he said, well, point out that 1 trillion alone is 100 times the total age of our universe. Now that takes it, hammers it home. What we are talking about is not dollars, not a minor currency, not the currency of a banana republic, but the currency of the almighty United States, and the privileged currency of all trade relations. Now, another condition, just put it in perspective of what is it concerned with. Let me quote a short passage from a Japanese publication. How much speculative, this is the quotation, how much speculative money is moving around the world? According to a Mitsubishi UFJ Securities analysis, the size of the global real economy in which goods and services are produced and traded is estimated at 48.1 trillion. On the other hand, the size of the global financial economy, the total amount of stocks, securities, and deposits adds up to 151.8 trillion. The financial economy thus has fallen to more than 3 times the size of the real economy, growing especially rapidly during the past 2 decades. The gap is as large as 100 trillion. An analyst involved in this estimation said that about half the amount, 50 trillion, is scarcely necessary for the real economy. $50 trillion are worth well over 5,000 trillion yen, too big a number for me to actually comprehend. Well, 5,000 trillion yen, it's too big a number to comprehend to anybody. And this is the kind of money thrown around with complete and utter corruption, financial speculation, and adventurism. Now, let me also give you a quote from what is happening in the case of these giant financial companies, and especially what you heard mentioned, the name of the 2 giant mortgage corporations called Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. And I quote here The Economist. The state complicity